Indian cities, we have about 35% of our residents of the country residing there. We have about these cities contributing almost 65% to our GDP. So it's clearly got to be a very, very important subject for us when we are talking about creating these economic engines for growth. We may have a $5 trillion goal in the short term, and going up to 2047, we have a big ask in front of us. In today's session, I have the privilege and opportunity to meet and interact and bring to this audience some very good use cases, and also discuss some of the challenges and opportunities that emerge from the ground up, if I may call it. So the session, as we have it, role of the city government in shaping the future. I was just looking up some statistics and facts. Our Smart Cities mission, which has now been extended up till June 23 of this year, 2/3 of the outlay, 1.8 lakh crore, of that amount, almost about 1 lakh crore, has now been awarded and is moving into completion. And over the next, I'd say 4 or 5 months, when I last looked at this statistic, the plan is that all of this will get executed and implemented. And, I've been privileged of having been here last couple of years also. Clearly, what this platform and forum has helped is when we bring certain issues out, I have seen at the highest levels actions getting taken. So this is not just conversation or theory. This is actual implementation. So with that said, I know for a fact that at the city level there are advisory forums, at the state level, high-powered committees that chief secretaries of states track, and also at the apex level with the the ministry driving and tracking this. Now with that as the context, we have heads of cities like Pune, Dr. Kolte is sitting right next to me. We have Jabalpur. I know that Sri Chandra Gohal has just taken charge from Bhopal and moved there very recently. We also have Aligarh. Amit Aasery will cover that, and then NDMC itself. So Dr. Ankita Chakravarti, where we are sitting here, she's so we've got a good coverage of the panelists. And the way we will begin is I will call out a few themes, which are essential and critical, and will request the speakers to cover some examples of what they have done, what they have seen, and what are the challenges that are in front of them. In the same spirit, the first one will be around inclusivity. Are smart city programs or the development really inclusive? Does it bring the citizen to the center? Are we creating assets, or are we creating a service-oriented output? So from projects to assets to the service quality, because to each one of us as an end user, that's what ultimately matters. So how inclusive is your policy making? And if there are examples that you could touch upon that. Second, I will ask them to cover private sector participation. I think that's also been an area where we have seen some good green shoots and models that can be replicated. Third would be around financing models. That's an equally important area, because if it's got to be sustainable, it's got to pay for itself. And finally, points around multi-departmental or, there is Nagar Nigam, there is the smart city, there is the center, there is the state. How do you maneuver and get actions on the ground implemented, and any learnings from that? So these are the 4 broad themes and pillars that I would like to define out. And I would start from the other end with Amit Aasery to first cover the work that he has been doing at Aligarh Smart City. Amit ji, over to you first, please.
Thank you.
A little louder. I don't know if the can the audience hear him? Yes, I think.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. In Aligarh, I would like to mention that we are in the process of utilizing the existing cutting edge level technology into the existing infrastructure and the processes which we are using in the implementation of the goals of Aligarh Smart City. So I was just about to mention that the GIS technology, which has a great and immense potential, can be utilized in a very simple manner. So however difficult that technology may seem at the outset, but I have in my experience found that we need to break it into small pieces and get the right data to the right source, from the right source to the central point, and we can integrate the whole system in a form that the whole data oriented approach can be very efficient in solving some of the major problems. For example, I have been using the ICCC, the Integrated Command Control Center, as a hub of solving all the citizens' problems, the grievances of all the citizens which we are receiving. Initially, we were having a problem of the quality of grievance redressal. Now, by simply having a before and after photograph, which was geotagged, which is having a geo-stamped latitude and longitude, I can generate the heat maps of different problems which we are facing. For example, we have solved a huge problem of leakages, the water leakages, because initially the reports were coming that the water leakages, the person went there, saw that problem and returned, and again the problem was not solved. So getting the photograph done, one thing was ensured that the solution is permanent. Secondly, we got this info that where was the location of that particular leakage was. In that manner, we generated almost 700 to 800 photographs of locations, and we can have a heat map of the leakages in the district, and there we can focus our energies. Similarly, we've done the work for cleanliness in the city. We have done similar heat maps we have generated for hand pumps. So what we have done is very simplistic usage of the current available technology, integrating into the very cutting edge level of analysis, data analysis. So that has solved our problems and made things easy for us. So that is one part of the problem. Another is the current infrastructure, the smart roads which we are making, the existing roads which are having just a road and a pedestrian way, we are turning them into healthy streets. So healthy streets is a concept where we want people to move around. We want them to move through public transport. We want them to move through pedestrian ways. We want them to cycle around. So we are creating the infrastructure for that. And I have seen a transformation that by seeing those pathways, people are motivated, and they have been using it, and there has been a very positive feedback about it. And we are trying to also develop the landscape so that most of the needs of the public, the small markets are created in the near locality, so that public don't have to go to far-flung areas. So this has put down the pressure on the transportation. The vehicle pollution has been reduced. So that is the whole concept we are trying to achieve. So we have started working on that. Hopefully we'll achieve it in some time to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit ji. I think the point about pedestrianization, I think that is a very fundamental point to, if you look at, we don't have to ape the West or other countries. We've had a history and a culture where we were able to do these things far more intuitively and in a localized manner. And I think that's an excellent example. And while we were discussing as a group earlier, one of the other questions I asked Amit ji is that now that you've done this, you've addressed this water distribution or the supply issue of tracking and monitoring, geotagged hand pumps. How many more other cities have you taken this to and made it successful? I think that's an important area also. And maybe I'll let Amitji respond to that, after which I would like to come to Dr. Ankita Chakravarti and also ask her a little bit about, how has this become self-sustainable and self-financing, and if there are examples for there. But Amitji, before you come in, and then ma'am.
Yes, thank you. As you mentioned, how do I, spread the kind of work we are doing? So first of all, I just wanted to say that I've just joined this Smart City 5 months back, and it is due to the motivation of our leader of Smart City Mission, Mr. Kunal Kumar sir, and due to which we are, having this interaction that how to best utilize the ICCC facility. So in the next upcoming conclaves, I'll definitely make a presentation so that all the Smart City CEOs get this message, and how easy it is, they will appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Amitji. I would suggest don't wait for the next conference. Share what you have across already, and moment you start sharing, you start getting 10 times more ideas also from others. So that's going to be my 2 cents. But thank you so much, Amitji. Ma'am, over to you for your quick initial comments, please.
Thank you. At NDMC, we have been working towards various solutions for making the city more inclusive, for making it more livable, and for increasing the standard of quality of life in the city. So NDMC being conceptualized as the central and the commercial business district of Delhi, and also the political and administrative capital of the seat of the Government of India. Certain issues that we have addressed through Smart City. The first is parking management. So we have a parking management system where the parking availability is displayed on a real-time basis, as I'm sure many of you have seen in Connaught Place. And that has been developed. There's also a mobile application for the same, and it has been very successful in solving the demand-supply issues that often arise in parking. That's one. Of course, towards inclusivity, we are a very I would say a toilet-dense area. We have about 345 public toilets in 42 square kilometer in NDMC, which is quite a huge number. And our toilets, we've worked them out on different models. One of our models that we have done has given us a lot of financial sustainability. So it was built on the built, operate, transfer model, wherein the agency that built it was given advertisement rights. As also in the public toilet structure, there is space for an ATM, there is space sometimes for in some locations there is a blood sample or a collection center for diagnostic things. So there are also water ATMs available. So different commercial models have been tried in these public toilets, and it is extremely successful. It also generates advertisement revenue, and it also generates revenue for NDMC. On a license basis, the agency pays NDMC. So that is one model where we are achieving inclusivity, because most of these toilets are disabled friendly, and many of them also now have third gender toilet facility available. So it's financially sustainable, and it is also giving us a good inclusivity factor. Then of course, in waste management, we have these smart bins, which are underground bins. The garbage trolleys are actually under the ground, and they are lifted up by a hydraulic mechanism on connection to a waste collector truck. And there are sensors in the underground bins. So whenever the garbage level crosses a certain percentage of the volume, we get a message on the integrated command control center, and the vehicle can be sent to the underground bins to collect, to empty the trolleys and to replace them with fresh trolleys. So that is another place where we are using smart technologies, the integrated commands control center, to achieve better waste collection and to ensure that we don't have overflowing garbage trolleys in the city. Of course, other than that, some of the indicators where we've been working is one of the functions of municipality, which is birth and death registration. So our birth and death registration system is now on blockchain, and the certificates that are issued to the applicants are also now available on DigiLocker. So the smart solutions, they essentially make the entire system more accessible and easier to use for our citizens. And the last thing that I'd like to point out is about with respect to environmental sustainability and to making our city more cyclist friendly. We have the smart bikes. We have different stations where we have given some agencies space for parking their smart bikes, and there's an app that they have, and this as the model is available across municipalities, there's a certain payment that is charged, and that is towards making sure that the city accommodates the non-vehicle travelers. So these are some of the points I'd like to highlight here.
Excellent. No, thank you so much, ma'am. I think for most of the people sitting in the audience and watching this later, I think we are sitting in Delhi, so it's in that respect the Dilliwalas here, or we do realize how some of these issues and the solutions, ma'am, that you're talking about touches our lives on a real-time, day-to-day basis. We've all grown up with seeing parking as a big concern in the city. Stuff that you spoke about in terms of monetizing what we have is public toilet spaces with advertisement revenue, ATM and other rights. I think that's stuff that I would definitely go talk to my 11-year-old daughter when she's thinking about doing projects like this. But yes, these are real problems, and I think these have the quick, as we call them, as low-hanging ones, which can be replicated across the country. And even your point about waste management, I think clearly adoption of technology, both in management and in point solutions, is something that India is today taking a front seat on. So the digital transformation is not just on paper; it's actually translating onto the ground. And compared to any other city, I think we have the opportunity today to leapfrog further and be the lighthouse on some of these. So thank you, ma'am, for covering those. I would, on my second round, also come to you and ask you around, how do you operate when there is a multi-department in every city level? There is, and not just Delhi, but you deal about Nagar Nigams, smart city offices, the state, the district offices. How does one maneuver those? That's a question I'll come back to you later on. But before that, let me come to you, Dr. Sanjay Kolte. And you've flown in from Pune. You were here yesterday. There is some very interesting work that I learned that Pune Smart City is doing. Stuff around integration of villages around the city, so that it doesn't remain to the city but expands further on the development, or around 24/7 water supply. Would you like to share your experiences, Dr. Kolte?
Yes. The older Pune city has added recently 23 new villages, and in fact so far 2 phases have taken place of inclusion of peripheral villages into the municipal corporation. One phase had taken place in 2010-11, and now recently in 2021 second recent phase has taken place. Now it's a huge responsibility on the city administration to after inclusion of the peripheral villages, there is a lot addition of a big population to this. Because of the addition of peripheral villages twice into the old city, now the urban agglomeration is now having population of almost 6.8 million. So the matching infrastructure creation for the included villages is a big challenge. And as we are talking about inclusion, the areas which are inducted into the city or into the municipal corporation, they should not feel humiliated because on the basis of the services which the older city and the major areas or the central areas of the cities are receiving. So right from implementing the technological features of the smart city mission to, as Puneet has said, water, road infrastructure, the other civic amenities. So all these things had to be upgraded for the added villages. The municipal budget has to have a special provision for focusing on the areas which have been newly inducted. From the smart city side, we shifted our smart elements or the IoT devices which we had set up in the older city. The additional devices or the devices which had to be shifted were taken to the fringe areas or the areas which were newly inducted into the city. Water 24/7 or equitable distribution of water supply is a big initiative that is going on in Pune city, which modernizes the complete water supply with smart reservoirs, smart pipelines, which will be controlled by a centralized SCADA. The automatic meters, AMRs and the bulk meters are being installed. So now this thing is now, which is being taken place in 6 phases, is now being taken up to the fringe areas also. So that has been a big challenge for this. At the same time, the fringe areas have not followed the regular town planning regulations, or the implementation is not as strict as the core city areas. So again, that poses challenge for creating the infrastructure of roads and underground utilities and other things. However, these challenges have to be taken up looking at the aspirations of the people after their inclusion into the city. And both the municipal corporation and on the smart city side, we have been doing our bit for making those areas also as inclusive as possible. While talking about the inclusivity features, in Pune, while creating the infrastructure, the smart city has created 30 meters of road redesign, and we have ensured that our footpaths are having the features for the blind, like use of tactile tiles have been utilized on all the stretches which we have created. At the same time, Pune Municipal Corporation infrastructure also tries to incorporate these areas. With collaboration with BVLF, Bernard Van Leer Foundation, we are creating facilities, pedestrian facilities or other areas which are infant, toddler and child caregiver friendly. So this aspect has been taken care of by creating pockets in various neighborhoods for recreation and engagement of this class. At the same time, public institutions like hospitals are also having an area which takes care of the infant, toddlers and children and the caregivers. So this is with the collaboration with civil society and other organizations. Several inclusivity features are being implemented in Pune city. Toilet Coalition Board is one such organization with which T Toilet is an initiative which is implemented in Pune city. And buses of PMPML are, few of them have been converted on pilot scale into toilets. And these are movable also at the same time. That's a slightly innovative kind of model that has been created in the city. Now, financial inclusion also very important, and especially the women sector, to make them financially self-supporting. Lighthouse project was implemented with the help of Lighthouse Foundation, and in the first phase itself, 4,000 women were trained and their capacity was built for making them self-supporting, and we provided self-employment to them. So far, 16,000 such women through 4 lighthouse projects, they have been provided the self-employment by way of this project. So several such initiatives on the inclusivity side are being implemented in Pune city.
I think some very interesting points there, Dr. Kolte. I think one that stood out for me is where, from a inclusivity point of view, you not just spoke about economic and gender, you touched upon both, but more interestingly, the fact that Indian cities are not like American cities. Indian cities have a history and a culture. There is typically the old city and then the expansion that's happened beyond that. And your point about preserving the old is very, very important. So the old city center, as you may call it, how does that integrate? Because the fabric is very different. And when we are building the new urban infrastructure, we tend to create, in the name of standardization, sometimes the ethos and the soul, as we call it, of the city can get lost. So inclusivity over a period of time of the old and the new built is equally an important dimension that you've touched upon, Dr. Dr. Kolte. Let me bring in Mr. Chandra Gohal ji, who has, by the way, just taken charge a few days back, 2 days back, from he's moved from Bhopal to Jabalpur. So we should not question him and challenge him on what's happened in Jabalpur, but I think he's got some very good examples of probably monetization and other things around renewable energy and what work they have done in Bhopal. So Mr. Gohal, if you'd like to go, please, sir.
Thank you for giving me opportunity. See, the quality of life of a citizen depends in India, in urban cities, is directly proportional to the financial condition of that urban local body. So, if the financial condition of that urban local body is weak, obviously the infrastructure that you are going to have will be weak. So, I just want to mention 2-3 points that we have taken in Bhopal Municipal Corporation. So, I was additional commissioner there just a week back. So, there is a huge challenge for paying electricity bills by the municipal corporation. This phenomena, I believe, is across country, but in Madhya Pradesh also there is this phenomena. So, due to the lack of financial probity and due to the lack of financial strength, we always struggle to pay the electricity bills on time, and it creates very awkward situation. So, what we have decided to create and to establish a captive power plant for our energy needs. So the monthly bill of Bhopal Municipal Corporation is 12 crore rupees. So in accordance with the MP renewal policy, any government body or anybody can set up the captive power plant under open access system. So our plant will be is situated in Neemach, that is 400 kilometers far from Bhopal, and we get energy at a very subsidized cost. Today the cost of energy for municipal corporation in Bhopal is 5.96, 5 rupees 96 paisa. But we have roped in the private partnership and a model called HA model. It is very prevalent in the NHAI. It is a hybrid annuity model in which we have roped in our annuity from the Nigar Nigam side, and we have also roped in the annuity from the private side. So we have contributed 30% of money. So total project cost is around 300 crores. We are setting up around 60 megawatt power plants. 3 power plants will be there. 40 megawatt power plant will be of solar side, and 15 megawatt is of 15 megawatt is of wind. So a kind of hybrid model we have created, in which around 200 crores will be invested by a private entity, and 100 crore rupees we are taking the term loan. We have not issued any kind of green bond or something like that, because as the project goes, as our payment of schedule comes, so we have tried to reduce the cost of those loans also, so that we have applied for a term loan. Whenever we will require the loan, we will give the money to the project. So in this way, we got the final price. The landed cost will be around 4 rupees. So per unit, we are saving around 1 to 1.5 rupees, which is a huge cost. And obviously, in the 12 months, around 2 months of electricity bill will be ultimately free of cost for the Bhopal Nagar Nigam. So this point we have taken for the sustainability, and it always, we all know that there is thrust on the green energy. It will also improve our credibility in the ratings also. Simultaneously, for the synergetic system, we have also floated the tender for the carbon credits. So the amount of carbon that is neutralized by these projects will also be used for generating the carbon revenue. So that is under the pipeline. This is number one. Number two, we have also tried to reduce our fuel cost by roping some new method. For example, we have floated a tender to give the places for a CNG station in the revenue sharing model. The person who shares the revenue from us, the highest revenue one who shares, will be given the land. So in this way, 4 to 5 CNG pumps have been established in Bhopal. And in the meanwhile, we have also procured The procurement was already earlier in pipeline. So we have almost procured 200 garbage vehicles. So as of now, the CNG for those garbage vehicles is free of cost, because it already covers that revenue that has to be shared with the Bhopal Municipal Corporation. So these are small steps that we have taken in Bhopal to help and improve the sustainability of the urban local bodies. See, executing the project on the mission mode is a one thing, but sustainability is also a bigger issue. So we have roped in those models. I have also joined in Jabalpur, as Narang Sahab was saying. So in Jabalpur, we have created a very fine infrastructure regarding cultural innovation centers. We have created multi-sports complex. So what we are trying to monetize them by leasing out those properties for a long-term basis. We are creating a hotel, so we are in talks with the hotel chains, how that can be given. So a kind of for sustainability, we are planning to have the leasing out model for the long term, so that they can also create the infrastructure. We have created the basic infrastructure. So the professionalism that is to be bring in can be by the private sector is also roped in. So it is a common practice that we are not that good on operation and maintenance of any kind of infrastructure. Generally we lag. We always see papers are full of negativity regarding the operation and maintenance of public infrastructure. So we try to bring in the private expertise by roping in these private partnership models. So these things we are doing. Secondly, what we are doing is in Bhopal, what we have done, it is done in many cities, that we have leased out the hoarding spaces and advertisement spaces to the private sector. So earlier there was lack of transparency for the allotment of those spaces. There was unimaginative forces, political and many forces worked to hijack those places. So what we have done, we have given and leased out to the private sector. So we also get the revenue, and secondly the public spaces are used for the public benefit. So these steps we are seeking. And I want to say one more thing, that regarding the financing model. So obviously what I said, financing the project in a mission mode is a one thing, to sustain it is a second thing. So in the smart city concept in Jabalpur and all other places, we are monetizing our assets on leasing out model, on selling model, or any kind of those things. So we are also in pipeline to monetize our data, the ICCC center. As Aligarh CEO sir was also saying it, many things and innovative things can be done over ICC, not only the e-challans and all those things, but also many kind of layering and many kind of services that urban bodies are providing can be roped in. So obviously these are the steps we are taking. And one more point I want to add, the cross-pollination thing that Narang sir was saying, that how our model is helping the other cities. So I want to mention this, that by looking the renewal project of Bhopal, some other urban local bodies like Devas and Mandsaur has already floated the tender, and in the pipeline of floating the tender. The Urban Development Corporation, the UADD of Bhopal, that is the ministry, that is the Department of Urban, is also trying to have a centralized model of these renewal projects, so that the energy cost of urban bodies can be reduced. So these are where we are cross-pollinating. Thank you.
Excellent examples, Goholji, and I think 2 points that stand out for me, what I hear, and it corroborates what's happening across the globe and a lot more in India probably. While we are tasked with building new infrastructure, greenfield as we may call it, but it's also, it's one thing to build something on mission mode, do a project, but it takes very different skill sets to run, operate and maintain something. And traditionally, probably that's an area for us to improve, and I think there is a clear marked shift in the way our existing assets that we have created are being maintained and managed now. I mean, if I may use the word, it's sometimes repurposing of something that you've created. A year, 2 years back, when I was here, we were talking how ICCCs have been used during the COVID pandemic to track and improve improve health situations. Increasingly, the shift that I'm seeing in the conversations is, infrastructure to ban gaya hai abhi. We've got the technology in place. how can we utilize that to improve the quality of the citizens? And there are examples that each one of the speakers here had covered with me, and some that Goalji you also touched upon. With that, let me, we are about 10 minutes or so into this, and I want to do a kind of a open question, like a rapid fire, if I may call it, because after that I want to open it to the audience also, which has been a very patient, attentive audience. I have seen some nods and smiles from the audience, so I think we have made a decent conversation over here. So 2-3 quick questions. First one, and I touched upon it earlier, how do you manage the multiplicity of stakeholders? Because that's been one of the pain points for us in getting implementation right at the grassroots level. It's an open question. Any one of you could take it, or if all of you want to take a stab at it, I'll just limit it. The response has to be about 1 or 2 minutes only.
So far as implementation of Smart City mission is concerned, there are in the pattern which is followed in Maharashtra, the Smart Cities in Maharashtra is the 3-level approach, or the 3-level stakeholders are to be handled while implementation of the Smart City plan. At the city level, it is the besides the SPV, the municipal corporation or the urban local body, which is the members of the elected representatives of the urban local body are directly members of the board of the SPV. So that is one level. Second is the people's representative in the at the state level, that is those members in the assembly. So they have a say in the implementation of Smart City plan by way of being a member of the Smart City Advisory Forum. So that is the second. And third regulatory apex body is as he has said is at the state level hyper committees are working in for every state, for every city. There is a chance of difference of opinion or friction at the city level when two people's representatives at two different levels, the City Advisory Forum and the urban local body, or the members from there who are on the board, they may have difference of opinion, so they have to be tackled at the time of implementation of the Smart City plan. And we have to, of course, bring up or encourage the like-minded entities, taking into account the political ecosystem in a particular city. And
time check. Sorry, yeah. I want to keep it brief.
And so that is a challenge for the administrator, city administrators like municipal commissioner, and also the CEO of the Smart City mission. Although city advisory forums only have the power to advise or give suggestions for the implementation, they do not have the sanctioning or approving powers. The real approving powers lie with the board of the SPVs. So again, that issue has to be handled tactfully and diplomatically by the bureaucrats at the city in the city administration.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. All of you want to respond, so I'm glad. Amit, why don't you go? Or ma'am, if you would like to go, any of you. Amit.
I just want to add one point that you've mentioned about the interdepartmental coordination. So the current problem is that every department speaks different language. So we need to bring all the departments on a platform through over which they can speak through a same language. So I have found that GIS and some concept called digital twin, if we move to that concept and make a platform, a technological platform where all the departments will interact with each other, not at the top level, but at the medium level, the lower level also. So it can give a solution, and that is what my point. Thank you.
So technology is a leveler. Basically get them on the same language and talk facts rather than your opinion versus my opinion or my perspective versus your perspective. Ma'am, and then Govalji, if you'd like to come.
I would like to say that in particular in NDMC, our interaction with some other departments is a little limited versus traditional or in other state governments. Having said that, we do have multiple layers of engagement with other departments, and one way to ensure that everybody is on board is that the project formulation at that stage, inputs should be taken from all departments, and we keep doing that. We are always and to bring them on record, and to ensure that the outcome is accepted by all. So I think that is one way that it is ensured. And of course, where it comes to giving representation to all departments in various committees, as has already been said by my colleague from Pune, giving them representation in the board or in different committees that are formed, that has to be ensured at all levels.
Excellent. So getting them in early into the project formulation is very, very important. Excellent, great inputs. Golji, if you would like to add something.
See, my experience regarding this is there are multiple bodies working in a city for the same thing. For example, municipal corporation also build houses, housing board also build houses, development authorities also build houses, and in Bhopal, smart cities also build government quarters. So there are multiple bodies, but there is no friction regarding who will do what. But the main point, the main problem is projects get delayed due to in order to take any decision, there are many bodies are involved. For example, you need to have environment clearance, you need to have land use permissions. So I believe that these powers should be vested with urban local bodies and proper guidelines should be created. There are many examples in which projects are hurdled due to this. Land use change is a very typical task to get it done with the the bureaucratic structure. So we need a corporatized kind of overarching body which should look after all these regulatory things also and should take a proper decision, and whole power should be given to a single body so that projects can be very fastly and swiftly can be taken through it. So taking the permission and statutory permission is a very difficult task. So obviously when one body deals with it, although with a proper regulation and properly, I think it will have a very positive impact on the projects.
Excellent. Thank you, Golji. I think we're running short of time. So any last final comments on what is that one thing that you would like, when you look ahead? One is stuff that you're doing already, but looking 5-10 years ahead, that you would want your teams or your organization to focus on as a theme. Just one thing, and quick 10-second response, starting from that side, ending with Dr. Sanjay, and then I'm giving the audience the heads up. We'll have 5-7 minutes for quick questions. So Amitji.
Thank you.
One thing.
Just one thing is people's participation, not every 5 years, but a continuum of people's participation. We need to make some models and platforms where they can interact with the authorities directly, indirectly, and their view is very important for the developing a stakeholders mentality.
Excellent. So a mechanism to engage on a continuous basis the public at large. Thank you, Amitji. Goalji.
See, down the line 10 years, I believe we have to focus on core problems like sanitation, like water supply, like best roads, and basic amenities, gardening should be in the vicinity of the citizen. So we should focus on the core areas more, because we are also lagging behind in those core areas. So down the line, I believe more and more things should be done to uplift the basic core of the city first.
Excellent.
So that should be the focus.
So excellent. Get back to the basics. Let's get those right first before we start talking about hundreds of things. Thank you, Goalji. Ma'am.
So NDMC being at the heart of the city, heart of the capital city and heart of the country, our goal over the next decade is mechanization of the different services. So in particular, sanitation or cleaning of drains or horticulture, everywhere we are looking to be a model where we go towards mechanization of services in order to, because many of these services actually involve our labor doing things that perhaps would not be acceptable 10 or 20 years down the line. So that is one thing that we're looking at.
So tech adoption to make sure that what we are doing today is relevant, and it's somewhere at the heart of it is also respecting the individual and the worker, as we may call it. So that's a long-term sustainability ask, and bringing tech in can help us do that. Excellent, great point. Dr. Kolte, final word from you.
I feel there should be more encouragement for the private sector participation in the urban development story, and more financial models need to be evolved so as to make the SPVs sustainable and to carry the success of Smart City Mission into the to the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities.
Excellent. Private sector participation. We know that the crowding in that was spoken about is taking a little longer. The government is pushing. So while from the top and from the center things will be there, even at the last mile, at the urban local body smart city, let's engage and draw the private sector in. Excellent. With that, I think I want to open it up for 5 minutes. If there are any questions from the ma'am. So share some examples of.
In decision making. So one is any challenges or any programs which you have initiated in your respective cities for involving the citizen participation more in decision making, and the digital twin technology where you've been used, as you said, addressing, working with various stakeholders.
I'll give one example from Pune city in short, that is regarding participatory budgeting. The Smart City Mission fellows have evolved a system, a mobile app and software of PB Plus. So that is participatory budgeting, which was implemented this year in Pune city, and it was made open to the public to upload their suggestions regarding the next year's budget, for any suggestions regarding the various works which they feel important to be implemented in their wards and the area. And that data was pulled together by the finance department of the urban local body, and those suggestions were also incorporated as per the feasibility in the recent budget.
Participatory budgeting, right there, a good example. Yeah, Amit.
You mentioned that, I have mentioned the digital twin technology. The purpose is that we should move to that technology. Currently, we are having so many utilities being developed in Aligarh Smart City. The undergrounding of electric wires, hundreds of kilometers of optical fiber network which we have laid. So these need to be maintained, and we have to ensure that these don't get destroyed in future, so that some digging up work is done and so much of disruption is caused. We need to develop a virtual model of whatever we have laid, and that can be done through GIS. Currently we are having a 2D GIS mapping, but we will be aiming for converting into a 3D kind of a map, because future is undergrounding of utilities and multimodal utilities which we are going to develop is the future of the Aligarh Smart City. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to encourage more questions if there are any from the audience. Yes, the lady over here, and then we will keep moving. Yeah. Please, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. I am Shekhar. I am an award-winning women safety startup. My question is to Ankita, ma'am. Ma'am, since I have worked in Delhi and I have studied in Delhi, and women's safety is a very core issue to be addressed. You talked about so many initiatives, I really appreciate it. But as far as women's safety is concerned, I would like to know any efforts are going in that direction.
Yes, so one of the prime things, prime concerns that comes in Delhi about women's safety is dark spots on our roads, in our parks, or in general in our public spaces. So all the these LED lights and the smart poles in NDMC area are all connected to our command and control center, and we have a live feed on which lights are functional, which are not functional, and this has drastically and this is connected to the integrated command and control center, and this has drastically reduced our fault correction time and made our public spaces much more illuminated. The second issue that is a rather recent issue is that very often, even though the lights are functional, we have trees that cover the lights, and which makes even though the light is there, the area is not illuminated. So we are taking up a project which involves setting up of lights on the footpath side. So there is generally one side where the tree is there, and then there's the other on the road side. So we're also formulating the project. It is in the final stages of formulation, where we will install lights at the other end. and there'll be low height lights, so they will lead to better illumination of public spaces. Thank you.
Okay, I've been told only one question. I'll take the liberty of making it two, but brief ones. Okay, sir, you've been recording and you have everything with you, but quick question. Mike. Just speak up, I'll hear you and I'll translate.
Hello?
Your name, yeah, now I think.
Neighbor city Solapur is getting water supply work.
Okay, I'll quickly paraphrase, and it's an example, I mean a question. While he's picked up Pune, Solapur is a close by city. How do you replicate what you've done in the vicinity and for the wider country? Quick 30 seconds.
For water, he said.
Yeah, for water.
Right, in Pune, as we have divided the city into water supply zones, and the smart reservoirs have been assigned to these zones, and accordingly the distribution and supply pipelines have been planned, and whole thing has been by a modern software is being controlled by the centralized SCADA. So I think this model is very well workable for a city like Solapur. Solapur is pretty smaller than Pune, so it will be easier to bring it on a platform like this equitable distribution supply platform. Of course, the local challenges, the ground infrastructure, the status of it, and the gap analysis will have to be done.
Okay. One last quick question, very quickly, please. There's a mic right behind you on your right.
Okay, thanks for allowing the question. I am representative of Russian delegation, and we have great experience in public transportation system for passengers, information systems for passengers. Show me please, or ask a question about how have you any experience in New Delhi, maybe in other cities, about smart transport. It's the one of the most important element of smart cities, of course. Have you any such experience?
Ankita, would you want to take that? Public information systems and how, let's say in urban mobility or other areas, are there examples?
So NDMC has set up these interactive panels along the roadsides, and those interactive panels have information particularly about transport systems. So about railways, about, I mean the panel takes you to the website, the railways, or to the portal of the different airlines, and also to the Delhi Metro link. If you come in particular to the information that is supposed to be displayed, say at the bus stops or what we call bus queue shelters, that actually comes in the domain of the transport department, and I know that they are working on it. We do have some revenue models for bus queue shelters, but we haven't yet ventured into the public information system because actually the NDMC doesn't handle the bus routes. That is not dealt by us, but I know that the Transport Department of Government Delhi is already working on that. And with respect to public information systems, with respect to say general information, say what is the temperature, what is the AQI, that NDMC is already working on, and we already have some panels installed, and we are working on installing more.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am, for taking that. Thank you for asking all the questions. I hand it back to the organizers.
Yes, thank you, and requesting Sachin to kindly present the mementos, expressing our gratitude, appreciation to all our speakers and to our moderator. So thank you to each one of them for sharing their very sustainable models of development of their cities, their revenue generation models, putting their looking into various digital solutions and putting them into action towards cities' growth and development. And in fact, this session is going to be leading into the next session where we are again going to be having our city leaders talking to us and looking into how putting the citizen first further infusing inclusivity, engaging citizens to improve the safety and well-being. There was a question on safety we are going to be addressing in the next session. Challenges the cities are facing on the path to smart urbanization and the opportunities that exist. So that's for the second session.